Hello and good evening. I'm Melisa Idris.
And I'm Sharaad Kuttan.
Welcome to Consider This, the show where we want you to consider and then reconsider the news of the day. Inspector General of Police Tan Sri Abdul Hamid Badur has confirmed the arrest of 17 individuals following a raid on a condominium in Jalan Puchong at which drugs were found. However, he refused to elaborate on their identities, only revealing that those arrested consisted 11 men and 6 women, including a foreigner. Sharaad, this has been the biggest news of the day. Rumours flying around. What do you make of this story?
Well, Melissa, you know, this would be an ordinary drug raid if not for the fact that the rumours included the arrest, possibly, of a member of the Selangor State Assembly. Now, that makes the story different from your regular crime stories. But I must say, Melissa, you know, I'm of the opinion that politicians ought to have their private lives. I'm also of the opinion that there should be a distinction made between drug use and drug addiction, especially when it comes to questions of, you know, fulfilling your function as a professional. But I'm not quite sure if the Malaysian public is quite ready to accept this of its politicians. What do you think?
What do you mean by that? What do you mean by you want to make a distinction between drug use and drug addiction. And you accept that politicians have their private lives. Now, I want to come back to this because we often talk about this on the show, the idea that, you know, moral purity when it comes to, you know, we expect a certain level of moral purity when it comes to our politicians. But I do have to make this a point that this falls under a crime. So this contravenes certain laws, yes?
Yes, but it's also a question of crimes and our criminal code and our norms with regard to crimes also evolving, right? So we need to see whether there was injury done to other people. There's some crimes which there might be no victims. People do things to themselves. They make personal choices. And I think that's, again, another conversation that we need to have in Malaysia. Whether we want the laws to evolve, and we know that in terms of drug use, there's already a call for decriminalization and so on and so forth. So is this particular event part of that larger story? Perhaps not, but I think it's an important thing to remember.
Okay, well, when we come back to the rumours that are circulating, I mean, there are multiple rumours circulating that this could have been internal sabotage simply because of the political nature of Malaysia. Now, last week we were talking about gutter politics, and I'm wondering whether should the rumours be true, in fact, if this falls under the same kind of category of gutter politics, which we so want to avoid seeing still in Malaysia Baru.
Well, you know, okay, so people are putting 2 and 2 together. There's the Bersatu Party Congress coming up, elections there.
Elections happening, yes.
There's a suggestion that the individual from the State Assembly is from that particular party. And for those who perhaps chanced upon a list of individuals involved in that raid, even though it's not confirmed, would perhaps, because of their own political sense, be able to say, well, these individuals are aligned to one camp or another within that party. So all that, and in the absence of a clear narrative and information, people are going to speculate, and conspiracies come out of a vacuum in information.
And precisely because of this vacuum, I think the narratives are not quite aligned. So apparently the assemblyman named in the preliminary police investigation paper, he has denied that he was arrested, and he claims to have been at home at the time of the arrest. However, conflicting news reports I have on Malaysia Kini, quoting NST, News Straits Times press reporters who met him at his residence in Puchong, they said that, to quote him verbatim, but I can say that I was at the wrong place at the wrong time, said the assemblyman. Now, the Selangor Bersatu, alleged assemblyman denied he was arrested after being tested positive for drugs, and he claimed that he was at the condominium to attend a discussion and had done nothing illegal. So conflicting narratives there.
Well, yeah, and you know, I guess to protect his own interests, he's going to have to put out a story that you know, will suggest that he is, of course, not complicit in the crimes alleged at the particular case. But again, Melissa, it comes back to this whole idea about, you know, where have we advanced in terms of our politics? Is this just another expression of internal sabotage? I think that's probably the most interesting angle at the moment.
Yes. I definitely agree. All right, let's take a look at other news. Now, the families of 3 murder victims will meet Putrajaya's special committee to review the mandatory death sentence tomorrow. This comes ahead of a report on its findings expected sometime this month. Now, the family members are expected to voice their opposition against any move to replace the mandatory death sentence, and these include the family members of Deputy Public Prosecutor Kevin Moraes, cosmetics business owner Sosilawati Lawia, banker Stephen Wong, Jin Kui, and UUM graduate Chi Get Yap, as well as teenager Annie Kok Yin Cheng, who were both raped and murdered several years ago.
Well, Melisa, again, this report is interesting partly because of the way it casts the stakeholders in this conversation, including so-called liberal pro-abolition NGOs, and it goes on to say, government leaders who have ignored the victims. Now, the victims, of course, are the people who actually were murdered. These are people who are kith and kin, friends and family of those murdered. So they're not exactly the victims. I do think, though, Melissa, and this is why this story really grabs my attention, partly because my own personal feelings about the need for Malaysia to align itself to global standards when it comes to the death penalty, but the way in which emotive language and arguments are often marshalled by both sides of the debate. Well, let's, for instance, anytime there's a discussion about the abolition of the death penalty, somebody will mention a case of, say, the murder of a child,
right,
or the rape and murder of a child. These are very emotive hypotheticals that often are used to kind of sway the discussion. Now, I think it has to be remembered that the family and friends of those who are murdered have pain. I think
yes,
nobody can deny that, right?
Correct, yes. No one is denying the pain.
Yes, but the death penalty is a public policy issue that goes beyond the individuals who are involved or implicated.
No, I completely agree with that. I also think that this raises questions about what the death penalty actually achieves, right? Is it about revenge? Is it about justice? And, if you take a look at the global patterns, there seems to be a shift in attitudes globally towards the death penalty. And I think Malaysia is trying to be in line with this global shift, in fact.
So what we do know, Melissa, is about 72% of nations are either abolitionists in practice or in law. That's 72%. And in a recent, a show of hands at the UN around a moratorium of the death penalty, Malaysia for the first time joined in 2018. Now, it joined, so 139 countries out of 193 countries globally have joined in this moratorium, moving the world towards a death penalty-free world. And I think when you look at the countries that remain, that still have the death penalty, you see a general pattern. It's quite scary. The death penalty is deeply problematic on so many levels. But again, Melissa, we need that conversation.
Yeah.
Question is,
it's a difficult conversation to have without using emotive language. How do we all keep a level head and have this conversation without, jumping to each side, each corner of the ring, right?
Absolutely.
All right. We're going to take a quick break and come back and take a look at the Electoral Reform Committee's interim report. That's coming up. We'll consider this. Stay tuned.